World leaders and royalty gathered in Rome to farewell the pontiff as he was laid to rest in the church of Santa Maria Maggiore.
It was also an opportunity for so-called brush-by diplomacy or impromptu chats among the political leaders and their delegations. Now, the US and Ukrainian leaders were among them, who took the opportunity for a short meeting amid tension over talks for a ceasefire in the Russia-Ukraine war. Well, joining us now is Charles Miller from the School of Politics and International Relations at the Australian National University. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
You're welcome.
Now, this is the first face-to-face encounter for Mr. Trump and Mr. Zelenskyy since that February Oval Office showdown. It was interesting, I thought, that this was not done behind closed doors. In fact, you could actually see the French leaders strolling casually by and just sort of greeting them as well. We also saw later on that the Ukraine's foreign minister tweeted a picture of the leaders saying these are two leaders working for peace in St. Peter's Basilica. Talk to us about the optics of these two leaders sitting down to talk. What are you getting from this picture? What's the message?
Well, I mean, hard to say really what to get from the picture specifically, but I think the overall vibe, I think, coming out of this meeting between Trump and Zelenskyy in general is somewhat positive, I would say, from the point of view of peace and from the point of view of the Ukrainian position as well. Trump obviously has met Zelenskyy. Nothing has gone terribly wrong to sort of, cross that rather low bar. They seem to have gotten along perfectly amicably, and also, Emmanuel Macron has played his usual role as a kind of a mediator or a bridge between the two leaders. And then we have after this, a statement from Trump, which seems to take a more pro-Ukrainian slant and to also raise the prospect of additional US sanctions against Russia. So I think that this is fairly positive from the point of view of bringing an end to the war in a just and equitable manner, but I mean, we really have to see. We've seen from Donald Trump sometimes in the past where he's said something that's pro-Ukrainian, so something that's pro-Russian, and often changes.
Now, this is the largest gathering of world leaders since the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. Many, I'm sure, would have taken the time to conduct these pull-asides, shall we call them, or behind closed doors meetings at a time of global uncertainty. Would that have been arranged ahead of time, or would it have been impromptu?
I think it was almost certainly arranged ahead of time. I don't think that world leaders want to leave these things very much to chance. Obviously, Ukrainian diplomats will be trying to contact the Trump administration as often as they possibly can. So I would imagine it's probably arranged ahead of time.
Now, most notable leaders were in attendance at the funeral, but there were also notable absences. We saw the absence of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The Russian leader was also not there as well. Would they have been invited, or would they have turned down an invitation?
I don't know, but I think that to have invited Vladimir Putin would have been unacceptable to the Europeans who make up the majority of the attendees, and are still incredibly influential in the Catholic Church. And the Pope himself, towards the end of his life, expressed frustration at the attitude of Russia over the war in Ukraine, especially the attitude of Patriarch Kirill of Moscow, who accused of being Putin's altar boy. So I would be surprised if Vladimir Putin was invited. With respect to Benjamin Netanyahu, again, I mean, the Pope was in constant contact with the Catholic Church in Gaza. He was very critical of Israel's actions. The Israelis, Netanyahu especially, did not get along with him terribly well. So again, it's not surprising that Netanyahu was not there, and I would be surprised if he was invited.
Now, Charles, at such events, seating positions would be imperative, of course, at the funeral, either to someone's advantage or perhaps even leading to awkward or tense encounters. How much papal diplomacy would have been exercised in deciding who sat where?
Well, as I understand, they have a protocol around this, which is that the leaders are sat in alphabetical order in French. So what that means, for example, is that the United States, which in French is les États-Unis, so it begins with an E, the president of the United States is sat between the president of Estonia and the president of Finland. I think that actually makes sense from their perspective, because they can say, look, it's decided according to a rule which is rather arbitrary, namely alphabetical order in French. So if you're sat next to somebody you don't like, or you don't like your position, well, we didn't have anything in particular against you.